Hello, this is Kenny Williamson, and welcome back to another episode of Melchizedek Chronicles. Yes, we're back again. Here we are. Glad to be back. It's another day, another lovely day here in Arkansas. Just had a little cold spell, got over that, and now we're back again with a warmer day, so that's good. Let's see here. Decided to come on here today and talk just a little bit about Mr. Rob Reiner. I'm sure you've all heard about that by now. Obviously Rob was, he got popular on All in the Family. That was the name of it, where he was called Meathead. And so he was on that show, for years. It was a good show. By today's standards, people would call it racist because we've digressed, Back then it was funny and people could talk back and forth and have a conversation. Today, the fake news and the liberal left lunatics have painted everything as racist. So now if you had a black person, on a TV show and you're going back and forth calling each other names, well, you're a racist. So, you can't do that anymore. But at the time you could do it because we were in a different place at time. But like I said, we've went backwards due to lunatics. That's what they want. They want race wars. They know that if any people get together and put their heads together, they're going to figure out real quick that the government is the enemy and some of these elites are the enemy, not each other. But that's not what they want. So we have this endless thing going. Well, Rob there, he played at that time, he played a person that was like a super liberal, hippie type, liberal lunatic. And come to find out, he wasn't acting. That's actually how he is. So, I've never really kept up with him. I know he produced some good movies that I've personally watched, and I thought they were decent movies, but he, obviously he's dead now, they say. Him and his wife supposedly were, I say supposedly, I haven't seen them, but found dead in their Los Angeles house, supposedly killed by their son. And, I say supposedly because, the daughter came in and found them at 3:30 p.m. And if you know anything about a lot of this stuff that goes on in this world, that world, there's 33s involved in lots of things. Numerology is very big in their satanic world they live in. So, they were found supposedly at 3:30, which is 33. I'm sure you'll hear that. But anyway, supposedly the son killed them. They said they were stabbed to death. One of the things I read said their throats were slit. So, I'm not sure which one. I read another article where supposedly they couldn't find a coroner to come in and, actually check them out. So, I don't know everything about that, but one of the articles I read said that they left the bodies lay there for like 5 hours because California is not allowed to come in and do anything without a search warrant. So anyway, allegedly they're both dead. They probably are. I don't know. Here recently we've had lots of people that turn up unalive from that little world over there. And I say that little world because, I've read tons of stuff about how Rob Reiner was an atheist. So he was in Hollywood. His dad was in Hollywood and was a big-time actor, apparently, before him. And so he's been in that his whole entire life. And all kinds of demonic stuff happens in Hollywood. I don't believe that Hollywood produces anybody good. There are no Christians coming out of Hollywood. Now, maybe an exception is what's his face. We did a podcast on the other day, what is his name? Let me look here. Yes, old Kirk Cameron. So, he's supposedly a Christian. Of course, he's recently, is like my last podcast said, has he gone off the deep end? He came from Hollywood. He's supposedly a Christian. And then they get their foot in the door, seems like, and then they switcheroo. And then everything they start talking about is heresy, is not Bible doctrine. But people listen to them, see, because they're these big Hollywood actors, supposedly Christians. So people are like, oh, well, if Kirk Cameron says it must be true. Doesn't mean it's true. You need to actually read it yourself in your Bible. But anyway, so Rob here, he had made a statement. I'll read it to you. And this was put out by the humanists in the United Kingdom. That they loved him. He claims he was a lifelong humanist. That means humans first, okay? You don't want to be a humanist. But so he said, the most important thing is that you be a good person and live by the golden rule. I'm not sure what his golden rule was, but he says, so do unto others. Maybe that's his golden rule. If you live by that, that's all I care about. Rob Reiner. Well, unfortunately, be a good person is very subjective, isn't it? I mean, what I think is a good person and what you think is a good person is completely different. So if you're going by what you think is a good person, not by a biblical standard, you're not going by God's word, you're going by what you think. Well, I mean, hey, I'm sure. So do we need to go by what Adolf Hitler thinks is good? I mean, what does he think? What did he think was a good person? Can we go by what people like that, what they think are good people? So no, you actually have to have a standard. And you can't go by your feelings. You have to go by a written standard like God's word. That way you actually know what it says in black and white. That's what you're held accountable to. Not an atheist's fantasy dream that live by the golden rule. I'm sure his golden rule is do as thou wilt. I'm sure. So anyway, so some of the stuff that he's done, he's obviously not saved. And, you see people on there commenting about how, rest in peace. You should be praying for their family. Pray for Rob. Well, when you hear stuff like that, that just proves that the person saying it doesn't know anything. An actual Bible-believing Christian is going to know better than that. And we've talked about this before, haven't we? Over and over and over. What do you pray for exactly? Well, Rob here, he is a professed atheist. I'm not calling him an atheist. He called himself an atheist. He doesn't believe in God. He does now. Well, let's back up. He does now. When he was alive, he said he didn't believe in God. Well, so what does that mean according to the Bible when you die? Okay, you don't believe in God, so where do you go? You go to hell. We've discussed this. So you go to hell. So Rob here, probably his wife as well, died, allegedly, if they really did. I'm sure they did. Surely everything on the news is not fake, right? I'm sure everything you see on the news is real, right? But let's just assume that it is. Let's assume it is actually factual, and you can guarantee it. Well, then he's in hell. He's burning in hell right now. So what exactly are you going to accomplish by praying for him? Now, you may pray that his remaining family members get out of their little Hollywood cult that they're in and stop doing, worshiping the devil, and stop killing people and stop doing their pedophilia, all of that. You might pray, hey, maybe this is a wake-up call. You should get out of it. But do you really think that's going to happen? No. It could, and I don't know for sure. But they were saying, I read an article on there, that he was worth $500 million. So chances are whoever his people are left over that are alive, they're going to inherit that money, and they're going to continue down the same path that he was on. And the only reason why I brought up pedophilia is I maybe not all, but most of the Hollywood A-listers, any of that, it's always something to do with pedophilia. It's always in the air. It's always around. Always something's always there. You see, because that's their lifestyle. So they can't get away from it. And majority of them talk about it all the time. So it's not just a conspiracy theory like most would have you believe. I mean, because these people talk about it. That's all they do. They make jokes about it. And what I've noticed is, and this is something I've believed for years, is they actually have to tell you what they're doing. Okay, they don't get to just totally fool you. They have to tell you. So what they do is they'll do it on a sitcom, like probably what he was on. They do it on these after-hour late shows. And what they do is they come on there and they tell you the truth. But they say it like it's a joke. Or they'll just tell you straight out, this is what I'm doing. But then all of a sudden, everybody in the background laughs and claps. They call that like a laugh track, a clap track, okay? Everybody all of a sudden bursts out, ha, 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 ha. And that means it's a joke, right? So, no, not him per se, but I've got one about him. Other ones go on, and they'll say, oh, yeah, I drink baby's blood. Oh, yeah. Everybody claps, and they think it's a funny joke. Well, how's your face look so good today? Oh, man, where'd your wrinkles go? Oh, well, I put a lot of baby's blood on my face. Oh, look at you. So they tell you the truth, and then they laugh it off like it's a joke. But it's like, who would joke about something like that other than a sick pervert? Well, Mr. Reiner here, he was on one of those, what they call celebrity roasts. That's where these celebrities supposedly go on there, and make up ridiculous stuff about you. And they say it in a, very comedic forms, as comedy. So everybody laughs about it. And so one of them that you can find on there is one of these other old guys, Al Franken. He's actually talking to Rob, and telling a story about what's happened to Rob. And the whole story is that, his dad, Rob's dad, comes into his bedroom at night, flips him over onto his stomach, slathers him up with oil, rapes him. And this is funny. See, they're all laughing about it. They think it's hilarious. And then not only that, the dad has his friends come in and all take turns. And they're all laughing about it, and it's a big, funny joke, according to them. None of it really happened. You see, it's all just comedy. It's all comedy, according to them. So this is the kind of stuff they're into, the kind of stuff they're doing. So not only that, you add all that on top of it. Supposedly, now there are some reports that this son was getting ready to transition into a woman. Now, some say that's a lie. Some say it's true. I don't know. The son, who supposedly killed them, he had some kind of mental problems, and he was a drug addict at some point. And I read several articles on it, and it said when he was 15 years old, he was homeless and on drugs. So, I don't understand how a dad, that all he do unto others, that's your golden rule. Your 15-year-old son is living homeless on the street, and you're worth $500 million. You couldn't maybe put him in a home and pay for it, or get him some kind of medical care? Nothing? Hey, that golden rule probably don't go very far, does it? However, allegedly, I don't know. I don't have the facts, and they're never going to tell you the truth. Some people have come out and said that the son obviously was on drugs at some point and other things. They're saying that because of, obviously the lifestyle they're living, the stuff they're talking about, what they think is funny, and they're saying that Rob's dad and his buddies all took turns raping him when he was a child, that this little boy of Rob's probably got the same treatment. And that's probably what got him on the drugs to begin with, to try to cope with the fact that he was, probably one of these Hollywood pedophile deals. And so then on top of that, who knows what, and finally just snapped and then killed him. So lots of the things you read on there are saying that he probably snapped because he himself had been put through these different, rituals that these guys are doing. That's allegedly. I don't know. I'm just telling you that. I know I'm going to get a comment. Somebody's going to say, "How dare you say that?" But well, I don't know that that's true. But we do know this. 99.9% of all Hollywood people these days all have, well, right now they all have a transgender kid. Every one of them. Some have 2 or 3. So when that happens, you automatically know that they're worshiping the devil. Okay, and chances are for them to keep their big A-list status that they have, they're required to give something. Not only their lives, but others' lives. So they're probably having to donate their kids to this trans stuff, which is basically worshiping the devil. You're giving your child over to Satan. And majority of these Hollywood elites, if you go back and look, somebody close to them in their family always gets killed. Usually drowns. That's a big one. And I talked to a guy at the TrutherCon. He actually had lists of all these different people from the 80s, 90s, people that I grew up with, and a lot of you probably did, seeing on the movies. And we're talking even Jordan, Michael Jordan, his dad. And he said they actually had to give those people up. They had to be killed in order for these people to keep their positions. These weren't accidents. So, you can start thinking kind of like, well, and I know what you're thinking. I've thought the same thing. Well, kids drowned. Kids drowned, right? Is an accident. Kids supposedly these days want to be trans, right? That's just a freak deal, right? But when you start adding it up and you see that 99% of all Hollywood people that have kids, at least one of them is trans, that's not a coincidence. Nobody else's is, but all theirs are. And then you start looking into it a little deeper, and a lot of their firstborn drowned, always die some way, somehow. Or if they don't have kids, somebody that's very close to them, like their mother or their father or something like that, always die mysteriously, just up and dead. So that's the world, the satanic, Holly weird world going over there. Everything they do is demonic. Everything. So Mr. Reiner here came right out of that system. He was born into it. He came out of it. He was living in it. And his son was in it, born into it. Now, another thing that Reiner had is he had what they call TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. So when Trump got elected, he went full Trump Derangement Syndrome. Everything he talked about at that point was Trump and how Trump this, Trump that. So he's a raving leftist lunatic. And it's like you'll see on there, they'll say, oh, Charlie Kirk this, Charlie Kirk that. Well, hey, allegedly, Charlie Kirk, if you believe all that stuff that you're seeing on TV, if you believe it, he got shot, right? And, of course, all these lunatic lefties, they believed it. So they came out in force, making fun, saying they're glad he's dead. I mean, the whole 9 yards. As stupid and lunatic as you can get, that's what they did. Now, this guy dies, and he is a lunatic himself, but you don't see, people are like, oh, well, whatever, and then people that are Christians like, well, he's obviously burning in hell. I mean, that's just what it is. And, but they're trying to claim that people are, talking bad about him because supposedly Trump said something. And I think that a whole lot of this is all play acting. I don't know what portion. I don't know what's true. We're never going to know. I mean, present the body so we can all see it. Have a credible person check it and make sure that it's the same person. Otherwise, you'll never know. All you'll see is a grainy picture or something that's AI. You don't know what these people are doing. You have no idea. I mean, maybe he was. Maybe he was killed. I don't know. The problem is you can't hardly believe a word you hear, anything you hear or see on TV or the news. But let's assume that it's true. Maybe it is. Probably is. Let's assume that it is. Well, think about it for a second. You're a Hollywood pedophile, chances are. Maybe not, but chances are. You don't believe in God, so chances are you have no morals at all. You don't mind doing anything, to get to where you're at. And so you live this lunatic left lifestyle of anything goes. But I read, that, he's big, he's a big Biden lover. And anybody that supports anybody like that, they're always into abortion, trans. That's what all the lunatic left are into. And so I read an article, about him that he was, same thing, into all that stuff and supported it. So that tells you right there. So you raise your kid like that too, into this same junk. No God, Hollywood, pedophilia, trans, abort, whatever, all this same stuff. And what do you get in the end? The son goes crazy and kills you. Stabs you to death. So the son was on drugs and accused of mental illness. And one thing I read said that he had taken a bunch of this other drugs that he'd been prescribed or something from the doctors for some kind of a, mental deal. And you end up getting stabbed. So, had Rob here brought his kids up in a good household where the kid wasn't homeless at 15 years old, addicted to drugs, how that happens, I don't know. But you probably wouldn't be in the scenario you are today. You probably wouldn't have got your throat cut. However, you also wouldn't have $500 million in the bank, would you? Because nobody would want to hear what you have to say. Then, all of a sudden, you wouldn't be popular anymore. And of course, he's super popular with ultra-lefty lunatics because That's all he can talk about now for the last several years, 10 years, is Trump this, Trump that, Trump this, Trump that. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, the stuff and people, I don't know who would even listen to a creep like this, really. I mean, just because they're, used to act, people actually think that they want to listen to them. So I have here some of these tweets that Rob sent out. Now, he did this for the world to see. Okay, this is no secret. Let's see here. He let me get that loaded here. Okay, got it loaded. Okay, this one says, until Trump goes to prison, I will no longer be posting on Twitter. I've had it with the insults and put-downs. F all of you MAGA a-holes. So, I mean, that'll tell you everything you want to know right there. So, F this, F that, post it online for the world to see. That's the kind of filth and mentality these Hollywood people have. That's just one. Let's see if we can figure out anything else that he says here. Okay, this one, he says, Donald Trump is a rapist who led a deadly insurrection to overthrow the United States government. Well, I don't know if he raped anybody or not. I don't know. I mean, chances are Rob did. And maybe he did. I don't know. I'm not taking up for Trump, but he says led an insurrection. No, that's all fake. The January 6th thing, that's all fake. If all that really happened like it did, which a lot of it did, because I actually met a guy that lives locally in this area. They came to his house and arrested him. Two of them, actually. One that lives just right down the road and one that lives here in Fayetteville, Arkansas. They were both, now they got right out. They weren't thrown in a dungeon like I've heard. These people are in a dungeon for years. They got out, but they were convicted. But they did get pardoned by Trump. That really happened, and they were showing their deal on Facebook. These are real people that I've actually seen with my own two eyes, so I know that they're not fake. So that's all a fake, lunatic, left Democrat thing. That's so they can get, it's pretty obvious that majority of people voted for Republican, Trump in this case, and that the Democrats cheated. That's what they do. They're liars and cheaters because they're all lunatic left. They can't tell the truth. Their father's the devil. So they're liars. They're all liars. And Rob says, I've never met a Republican yet that I don't hate. Well, that's because you're a lunatic left and a liar and you worship the devil. Where most, not all, but lots of Republicans are normal people who read their Bible and worship God in heaven. So they don't want to have anything to do with your filth, your pedophilia, your Hollywood junk, your atheist junk. They don't have anything to do with you. So, of course, you're not going to like them because you're part of what the devil's system is. And a Bible-believing Christian, which normally falls in line with Republicans, not every time, but I'm not saying all Bible-believing people are Republicans, but most Bible-believing people are conservative, and they lean that direction because why would you not? You can't lean the other direction where the party is pushing for trans, butchering your children, and killing all the kids. You obviously can't support that if you're a Bible believer. That's what these clowns do. So, yeah. Let's see what he did here. Let's see. This guy, all he talked about was Trump. He's got like hundreds and hundreds of tweets about Trump and their Russian collusion, the whole Clinton bull, everything fake, everything made up, they're bought into. Doesn't matter what it is. This one right here will tell you for sure. Okay, you don't have to know much, but here's what he says. The difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump is Joe Biden is a decent, law-abiding person, and Donald Trump is a pathologically lying criminal. Pathologically, that's what he says. He's not a pathological, he's a pathologically. I'm trying to read his words here. So Joe Biden is a decent, law-abiding person. That's what he believed. So, I mean, that'll tell you everything you need to know right there. I mean, Joe Biden, where's he at? You mean the masked lunatic that's up there? Let's see here. Let's see. What he always say all the time? Come on, man. 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 That Joe Biden? Yeah. The one that doesn't even look like the other Joe Biden, looks like he's wearing a mask or something. Something's not right. But he's a decent law-abiding person. Never mind all the stuff him and his son have done. You know, his son doing cocaine and meth and filmed it all, with prostitutes and the whole 9 yards, with his teeth all rotted out, and he films everything. Had it all on the computer that they tried to hide. I mean, that's your law-abiding, that's your decent law-abiding person, is all tied up in Ukraine, somehow rich and getting paid. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a good one. Let's see, what else do we got here? Of course, there's a big article here that Rob Reiner attacks Rush Limbaugh as purveyor of disinformation the day after his death. Well, I didn't listen to Rush Limbaugh a lot. Anyway, so, right after Rush Limbaugh died, this guy attacked him. But that's what lunatic left do. They do stuff, and then if you do anything back or say anything, well, you're the criminal. How dare you do it? But that's how they live their lives. They're doing it constantly. Let's see. There was a couple more. Let's see. Rob Reiner launched his social media attack on the late Limbaugh by calling him a liar, warning that other conservative media personalities are trying to deny climate change. Oh, gosh. Well, you should have known, right? The dude's a climate change guy, too. What a surprise. All of your lunatic left and devil worshippers, they always are. Climate, the climate's changing. I saw a deal just yesterday, I think, another news deal, how the oceans are rising. The oceans are rising again. I don't know who falls for the junk anymore. I guess there are people, other lunatic left, other devil worshippers, other atheists. Maybe they do. Maybe they are too stupid to go out and look out their window at the ocean and see that things that were there, pictures taken from, 100 years ago. All right. Well, I had to answer the phone real quick, so I had to pause it just for a second. So what I was saying is these people are not smart enough to look at the ocean today. And, they've got pictures of lighthouses. They've got pictures. Look at the base under Statue of Liberty. Anything. They literally have pictures of this from hundreds of years ago. And then you look at a picture today, the water level's in the same place. It's not rising. It's a joke. It's a scam. It's fake. These guys that are into that, it's all about making money. It's trying to get you away from the beach, because you're scared that the ocean is rising so they can move on to the beach. That's what it's about. They want you scared of climate change so you get rid of your pickup and you walk everywhere so they can ride around in Cadillacs and limos. Okay, that's what these people do. I promise you they could care less about any type of climate change. They could absolutely care less. They don't care what gets dumped in the ocean or anywhere else or on you. I mean, if it was up to them, they'd kill you and dump you in there. Okay, but yeah, so trying to deny climate change. Well, can you prove it? Prove that the oceans are rising. You can't by pictures. So how are you getting this information? I mean, you can see different things from hundreds of years ago. Nothing's rising and nothing's changing. Now, you have ups and downs that they've had for hundreds of years that anybody's been recording anything. There's been highs and lows. It doesn't mean anything. And clowns like this, he'll say all that all day long. Well, why don't you cry to climate change? Why don't you go over to China and cry to them about it? See where it gets you. Drive over to fly over to North Korea and cry to them about climate change. See where it gets you. Or India, or Russia, or Ukraine, or anywhere else. Okay? You wouldn't have lived as long as you have lived if you tried any. Now, all you can do is sit over there in Los Angeles in a mansion, I'm sure. And, get on your big fancy computer and tell everybody how stupid they are because we're denying climate change. But you're not proving climate change. Everything they've done through the past 100 years has been fake. None of it's ever happened. So, yeah. But, it stands to reason. Another one of those guys, that's what they all are that I've seen. Let's see what some other stuff he says. Here's another one. Tonight, the media will turn the oldest living democracy into a reality show by allowing a pathological liar to treat American citizens like suckers. There is no crisis at the border, he says. Well, number one, we're not in a democracy, are we? Okay, we're in a constitutional republic, but you're too stupid to know that. We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. That means we have laws. Do you know what a democracy can do? Democracy's he who votes, with the most votes. So in a democracy, if you have a bicycle and you've got 10 people around you, they can all raise their hand and vote to take your bicycle away. That's a democracy. We're not in there. This is my bike. I bought it, and it's mine. I have a right to keep it. You go get your own. Okay, so right there he's incorrect. And then at that time when this was published, there is no crisis at the border. Well, I guess in your mind, probably not. But again, let me guess. You're over there in a big, huge gated community with fences everywhere, probably private security, in a mansion, a billionaire. So you're not concerned about all the crime and everything right outside the gate, are you? You're not concerned with all the illegal immigrants that took over and are taking over these other towns that are, they have no intention on assimilating in. Now they've got their own little country they've got going on, and this is the kind of stuff they've got. They've let them move in like that over there in UK. Just come on in. And I saw an interview where one of the guys over there who has friends that are police, he said that in the center of town now is this Muslim community deal. They call it the rape deal, or whatever they call it, the rape square, whatever. He said literally all day long, there are Muslim or immigrant men from these different countries. I think they're all Muslims. All they do out there all day long is rape women. All day. The police just sit back and watch. They either too scared or not allowed to act. He said so hundreds of women are getting raped all day long. It's unbelievable. But this is the kind of junk these clowns want. There's no crisis at the border. Come on in. Vetting, what's that? Oh, we don't care. We don't care what your beliefs are. We don't care what you plan on doing. Just come on in. Oh, now you're going to set up a little community right in the middle of town and start raping all the young girls that walk by? Well, that's okay. Do as thou wilt. As long as you obey the golden rule. Seriously? Well, see, that's why he's never met a Republican he didn't hate. So let's change that word to conservative. I'm sure he's never met a conservative he's never hated as well, right? Because try that down here where I live. Set you up a little thing in the middle of town and try to rape the girls that walk by and see how long you live. You won't be alive very long. That won't fly here where I live. Number one, the police wouldn't allow it. The police would be all over you like Hop on Pop. If you remember that little book, that little storybook by Dr. Seuss. The police down here will be on you like Hop on Pop. And if the police can't handle it, oh, you better believe everybody else will. You won't get away with it. You're not just going to set up a stage here in the middle of town here and start raping all the young girls coming out of the high school. It's not happening. So, but where these other places, this is going on, but they're all lunatic left. They're all liberals like this guy. Okay, wait, whatever. Let's see here. Let's see some of the other stuff. Okay, according to Rob, this is a fact, he says. Fact. President Biden has the most successful first 2 years of any president in the last 60 years. The economy is moving in the right direction. Oh. You can see these people are retarded, right? Mentally retarded at some point. So he either was, well, he's not anymore, right? He either was mentally retarded or he's being paid to say this stuff. Based on the amount of money he supposedly has, I'm sure they're paying him. And he's going to take the money because that's how these Hollywood greedy, that's what they do. I mean, they would sell their soul for $1 bill. So, of course, what do you think's happened here? So, yeah. This is a good one right here. I thought this was interesting. It says, the difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. When faced with a Chinese spy balloon, Trump kept it hidden from the public and ignored it. Biden informed the U.S. and shot it down. It says, the other difference, Joe Biden is a decent man. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, there's hundreds of these. Anybody with any discernment at all can tell that this man was a devil, a liar, I mean, probably a pedophile, clearly a lunatic. So, and if he really passed away like they said, then he's sizzling right now in hell. And, you know, he will get, he'll get a reprieve, a minimum of 1,007 years, if we enter Jacob's trouble tomorrow, which it doesn't look like we're going to do. He's got at least 1,000 years to think about that. And then he's going to get to come up. He's going to get to come up before that white throne judgment right there with all of us watching. And those books are going to be opened. And then we're going to get to hear, we're going to get to hear all about the pedophilia if it happened and all the whole 9 yards. And then he's going to get kicked right into the lake of fire, where the smoke of the torment ascends forever and ever. Not annihilation, but sizzling for ever and ever, according to the Bible. So pray for Rob Reiner. What's the point? He had his chance here on earth, and he blew it. He took the money and the fame and all the stuff that comes with Hollywood. That's what he chose. So I wonder if any of that's going to do him any good in front of the white throne judge, in front of that judgment seat up there. You think that's going to do him any good? Well, now, wait a second now. I was worth almost $1 billion whenever I died. You think that matters? God's going to be like, well, that's my money. Well, I did this and I did this and I was a popular actor. No respecter of persons up here. Didn't watch the movie. Sorry. So, yeah, but what I was going to say about this, when faced with a Chinese spy balloon, do you really believe that was a Chinese spy balloon? I may have thought that years ago. But knowing what I know now, that NASA and others use balloons for their so-called satellites, and that NASA is the world's largest user and buyer of helium for their balloon project called Loon. And this is stuff you can verify. This is not me making it up. I would say probably what really happened is that's definitely a balloon full of helium, and it had what's known as a satellite underneath of it. It was probably one of our own, would be my guess. I'm sure NASA put it up. And it's some kind of something doing who knows what. And I remember when that happened and they said, oh, they're just letting it fly all over and nobody will do anything about it. And they finally shot it down over the ocean. Well, I'm sure it's a NASA deal, probably. It malfunctioned and was trying to come back down here to the ground because it's been up pretty high, floating around, doing God knows what, whatever they do. And it was probably doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, or had, I don't know, some kind of proof on it that would prove something that nobody wants them to know. Okay, so, NASA doesn't want you to know any of the truth because they're a satanic organization and a liar. So they don't want you to know the truth. That was a bug flying, by the way. That's why I did that. And so my theory is it came down out of its orbit, wherever it was at, flying around under the dome. And they were like, oh, well, we don't want this to be, we can't, people are saying it's a Chinese satellite because we don't want to tell them the truth, what's really going on. They're too stupid to look for themselves. So we don't want them to know that. So let's claim it's a Chinese spy balloon and everybody will hate it. And then we'll shoot it down over the ocean so nobody can verify anything because it'll sink straight to the bottom. Or we'll shoot it out there where you ain't ever going to find it. Probably shoot it down in the same place that all the rockets go. The ones that go to outer space, that really go out to the Bermuda Triangle. They go up, 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 and then they start going over, and they disappear down into the ocean. Oh, but they're not going to the ocean. They're flying to the other side of the globe. Sure. So chances are they didn't want this thing being shot down like in a cornfield or something, because somebody might run out there and be like, oh, what's this? This thing says NASA on it. This thing says NASA blah, blah, blah. Well, what in the world? Well, what's NASA doing with this? Well, what's too many questions. So let it go ahead and sail on out over the ocean and then dispose of it quite properly where nobody is going to ever see it. That would be my guess. But hey, right here, Mr. Reiner, Chinese spy balloon. So it's true. It's true because a Hollywood Satanist said it. So it must be true. Right? Oh, boy. Yeah. Yeah, anyway, he goes on and on and on and on. Every other one F this, F that. That's the kind of people they are. So he was a foul-mouthed, devil-worshiping, atheist, Hollywood, pedophile. The list goes on and on. But you're going to see all these people, rest in peace. Rest in peace. If you're a Bible believer, there's no rest in peace. He's burning in hell. Sorry. I know that hurts some people, but the truth always does. They want to believe in a fantasy. Oh, you can be a pedophile. You can be in Hollywood. You don't have to believe in God. You can be a billionaire, and you can just spew filth and hate all over every day, all day. Oh, don't worry. You're going to be resting in peace. Probably go straight to heaven. Maybe you'll be making movies up in heaven. Unfortunately, that's not what the Bible teaches. So, So get on X, get on Twitter, whatever, and check out all the posts about how dare you say anything negative about somebody who died. How dare you? Well, I'm not glad that the guy's dead. He should have got saved. He should have got saved, and then he would be living for eternity. But you wouldn't be able to go on here and do all this filth that you're doing. You have to clean it up. But you don't want to clean it up, so you ain't getting saved. And you can't do all this junk you're doing and be worth $500 million. You're doing, how could you? You'd have to probably get rid of some stuff. Oh, you don't want to do that. So, and by the way, his name is supposedly on the Epstein flight logs as well. He's one of the many that, took a trip down there to Epstein Island, according to the sources online. They've got all the lists, and his name is right on there. So, who knows what went on with that? We know that they're all pedophiles. So, if, allegedly the Epstein deal is all true, and that's what they were doing there, well, his name's on the list. Surprise. Majority of all the Hollywood people's names are on the list. So, anyway, I'll get off here, get done with this one, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. It's my take on it, my perspective. It's just another Hollywood Satanist pedophile in hell. That's what it is. If everything is true, what they're saying, then we just lost another one to hell. And you think some of these guys would wake up, but because they know where they're going. They'd have to know. You think any of them are going to wake up and actually change and do anything? Nah. I don't believe they're going to do that in a million years. No way. No way they're going to. But anyway, if you're not a part of that, or if you are, get saved before it's too late. Renounce it. Repent. Change your ways. Otherwise, you'll be right there with him. So, no thanks. No thanks, Rob. I think I'll go the other direction. I think I'll be up in heaven in a new body, enjoying myself, not suffering in hell for eternity. Anyway, this was another Heaven and Hell episode, I guess. But I thought I would speak about that just because it's in the news. And, it is what it is. You can talk about all these different people. It's just one after another. So, anyway, the moral of the story is get saved before it's too late. You're not guaranteed another breath. You're not guaranteed another heartbeat. So, get saved before it's too late, because if not, like we said, we went over this again and again. This is not an annihilation type deal, okay? You are going to suffer. So old Kirk Cameron, he's not telling you what the Bible says. He's telling you opposite. I notice a lot of people do that here lately. They go on there and they've got these wild stories about this stuff, and they they must not read the Bible, I guess. But, they seem to be accurate on other things, and they get you drawn in, and then they start telling you all about, oh, you're in Satan's little season, we're this, everything goes against the Bible. That's what they try to get you to fall for. That way you don't get saved, so it's not worth it. Well, I missed it. I missed the boat, so don't bother. Or I'm not good enough, don't bother. Oh, I've got to do it by works? Oh, man, well, I'm never going to be good, and don't bother. They don't want you getting saved. They do not like that name of Jesus Christ. I promise you that. See, there's a lot of power in that name. When something like that is evil or something and you say, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ, there's a lot of power in that. They don't want you to know that. They want you to stay so far away from that Bible. They want get that TV on, get those sports going. Get that Hollywood movie going. Okay, get all involved and calling people names and arguing and stuff constantly. Get that dopamine up. That way, you're addicted to it. That's what the devil wants. Anything as long as you're not reading that Bible. All right, I'll quit. Thanks for listening. Let's see here. Check out itsflatbro.com. Check out truthseekersministry.org. If you want to support the show at all, there's links on there to do that. Again, we've got the Flat Earth Bible on, what is that on? That's on Amazon. On Melchizedek Chronicles by Dr. Kenny Williamson on Spotify or any other podcast platform. Obviously, there we are on YouTube, Melchizedek Chronicles by Kenny Williamson. Go check that out. Also on Rumble, Kenny Williamson Official. That's about it. Thanks for listening. I plan on having a few more out before Christmas. Christmas is coming up. Then New Year's. Going to be another year. So we'll see how long it keeps going. Anyway, thanks again for listening. God bless you.